What's going on, guys? So, today I want to talk to you a little bit about why it'll be important for you to identify the bottleneck or bottlenecks in your life right now and to lean into that. So, you probably know, but if you don't know, a bottleneck is like, just imagine a bottle and then up near the top where it gets thinner before it comes out, right? And when people refer to bottlenecks, they mean where it's harder for you, more difficult, where it's a bit more challenging. Like what's limiting you? Like what if it was all just the bottle? Like no weird little weird little neck there. Like what if there was no limit there? What exactly is the bottleneck in your life? So sometimes like a really easy one, example is like in businesses, right? Like their bottleneck could be anything, but just for the example, it could be marketing is the reason that they're not getting enough leads and then enough sales, right? And typically it's a marketing thing more often than not. Like marketing gets you leads. You can find out which leads are quality leads. You can get the sales, provide value, of course, right? So that's just one example, but like you could apply this to any area of your life. Like the reason, for example, that you're not losing weight when you want to might be because you haven't actually started counting your macronutrients or your calories, and you haven't actually cut out things that are easy to cut out, right? Like sodas, sugary drinks, desserts, candies, ice cream, bread, pasta, rice. And some people will be like, well, rice is healthy for you, bro. I mean, I'm just saying, like, there's things that you could cut out to make your weight loss journey a lot easier. And most often, people aren't actually addressing the bottlenecks. And that example is actually hilarious because it's so simple and they know. Deep down, they know. Like, if they actually really wanted to do it, they would, because those are easy things to think about, especially like just cutting out like sugar and bread and pasta. Like you could still, let's just say like you kept eating rice and fruits, vegetables, meat. Like you'd be a lot better off in that position than eating all these other things too. Or actually being serious about it and counting your macronutrients. There are apps that do it for you, right? So you can just enter in the information. You don't necessarily need to write it all down. And maybe, maybe it just comes from pure laziness. I'm not sure. Like maybe there's not enough pain to make them take an action forward. But when you actually identify this bottleneck, the best thing for you to do would be leaning into it. People say you don't want to stay in your comfort zone. You want to get out of your comfort zone so you can grow, right? Well, that's exactly what leaning into the bottleneck would be like. Is that thing that's like a little bit uncomfortable, but it's not impossible for you. I mean, you probably know what the bottleneck is already, right? Like another example is like a lot of guys know exactly why they're not getting dates or they're not getting good dates, quality dates, let's say. And they'll give you excuses all day long, up and down, sideways, about how they're so busy. All I do is work and go to the gym, bro. Blah, 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 blah. I just need some chill time outside of that. I work 12 hours a day, every day. Blah, 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 blah. But it's like, well, okay. But if you really wanted to, you would. Right? There's no question about that. So what is it that's holding you back? Is it fear of rejection? Right? Is it maybe that you don't really know what to do when you're in those situations? Like sort of how to interact with women, how to lead, on dates, how to put boundaries down, how to create a healthy relationship. Is it anything else, right? There's so many ways that you could be creating like and that's another part, right? You could create bottlenecks in your own life. Like, it's not like it's a challenge you didn't see coming. Like, sometimes we're just creating our own challenges, right? Like, why aren't I getting enough sales? Well, maybe I don't have enough leads. Maybe there's not enough marketing. Okay, wow. Well, that's actually a great example for business, and you can actually apply that to these other areas, right? Like, why is your social life trash? Because you're not socializing enough. Like, basically creating enough leads to meet new people, create actual friendships, quality friendships, cut out the wrong ones. Same thing for dating, right? Not creating enough leads. It's funny because like sales translates to all these other areas too, like leads, quality leads. Are you actually creating a great relationship there? And so I'm saying all these things because there's probably something in your life or multiple areas where there's a bottleneck and you know exactly what it is. And maybe you're just like, a lot of us do this thing where we distract ourselves all the time. And so we remove it from the forefront of our brain. And so we're not thinking about that bottleneck or that thing that we really need to do. Even though we really know, like if we actually sat down and wrote it down, it will come out pretty quickly, like what the action is that we need to take, that we're avoiding, that will get us the result that we're looking for. And oftentimes it just comes down to the fact that you don't want to face it and you don't want to actually do the work, which is another issue entirely. And maybe I'll just make a quick note on this to end the video, is that motivation is nice and fluffy, and also it's a little bit like, of course it's nice, but it's also your enemy in a way too. I'll explain what I mean, because there's too many people who rely on motivation to get things done instead of discipline. Motivation implies that you need the motivation to do the work. But a lot of people would tell you that it's better to do the work, especially when you don't want to, right? Like that day you really don't want to go to the gym. That day you really don't want to work on this thing for your business. You know, you don't want to sit down, actually do the work, but you do it anyways. And then you feel better afterwards because you did it. It's like you're basically just procrastinating. And maybe you don't trust yourself that you can get the work done, or trust yourself that you'll do a good job, trust yourself that it'll work out. But it'll work out if you actually do it. And so what my recommendation to you would be to not rely on motivation. It would be to just start creating consistency in your life. I mean, whether you just do that thing for 10, 20, 30 minutes a day, just start creating consistency in that way. You're going to get where you want to go, and likely it's going to have something to do with that bottleneck that I told you about, and you can break through the bottleneck by doing enough reps, by doing exactly what that uncomfortable thing is, which, funny enough, ends up not being that uncomfortable once you actually just sit down and do the work. All right? Write down the bottleneck. Sit down. Let's make it happen. You got this.